Okay, I'm in the process of putting the rear engine mount in. I got the rear piece in the proper orientation, and notice I left it loose. The instructions say to leave everything loose, you tighten this down first and you tighten this one down last, so things line up best to make less noise when you're driving. So these bolts here are 14 millimeter, kind of small. Manual says to torque them to 60 foot-pounds. I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to go 30 to begin with and then just ease up into it, see how it feels, because 60 seems high for that bolt, but it's probably right since that's what the manual says. This one is supposed to be torqued to 80, and I'll be as cautious with that one too. I don't want to strip it. So anyway, that's where I'm at. The new engine mount's here, and it installs with the bent part outward. So if you can see how at an angle it's got how the edge is bent out, put it like that. That's how it goes. All right, let me get this put in. Well, got a problem. This engine mount isn't lining up, and that hole there is not the bolt hole. This whole thing needs to be moved over. I've got everything loose, so I can kind of move it over. But the bolt hole is, the bolt hole is about right over here. So I need to move, this bracket needs to be moved over, but unfortunately you can't. So I think this piece here, the piece I'm replacing, the cradle, must not have this in the right place, or I'm gonna have to loosen all these bolts and try to shift the whole thing over. So that's what I have to do. It's my only option. Well, actually I have another option. I could try to bend this bracket here, this engine mount here, and move it that way a little bit. It wouldn't take a whole lot, I guess, but yeah, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to loosen these big mounting bolts, the four that hold the cross member in, and try to slide it over to line up with the mount. You can see I've got a little bit of play here because I've got it loose, but that hole there is not the bolt hole. That hole is not the bolt hole. Let's see if I can find it. I gotta rotate. There's the bolt hole right there. See that one off to the right? That's the bolt hole. So it's got to move over quite a bit. Shoot. All right, well, let me try loosening all the bolts and see if I can slide that cradle over. All right, so I'm looking at the original mounts, and this piece here does look slightly bent. So I don't know if I can blame the cradle for having the hole off, because that does look like it's bent just about the right amount, doesn't it? So that might be bad news for me. That might mean other things on the body are bent. That's preventing me from lining the wheels up. But anyway, I did get the mount in there. I've got all the bolts in loosely right now, not torqued down yet. So loosening the cradle was able to move it over enough, in combination with me twisting this mount. I was able to get it. So now I need to retorque the cross member, or the cradle. I need to retorque it down to proper specs. Then I'll torque these down to proper specs. First these bolts, then this bolt, then this bolt, in that order. So let me get that going. This bolt and this bolt are both 80 foot-pounds, and these three that are on the side of the engine that you can't see, it's supposed to be 60 pounds. And once again, this is 110 on the rear bolt and 100 for the front bolt. Everything's torqued back down. Cradle bolts, so all the cradle bolts are torqued down. These are torqued down, and all the bolts are torqued down. Now these guys were supposed to be torqued to 60, but I got the 50 and it made the 50 okay, but it didn't feel like it was going to 60, so I stopped short of those. It'll be fine. So this is not perfect. I mean, so this hole probably is correct since the other piece was bent. So I don't know why it's off that much, unless some accident happened and the body itself is out of shape. I can only hope that's not the case. I just hope that maybe this was off, but I don't know. All right, so next thing to do is put the put the control arms in. So let me do that. Okay, I've got the control arms on both sides started. The two rear bolts are in on both sides, but the front bolts, now we have to jack the car up. So it won't go in until you jack the engine up a little bit. Sorry, not the car, the engine, or transmission in this case. So I'm going to jack up right in between the engine and transmission, just enough to get that bolt to feed in. So right there is where, well, line up. Right there. All right, so right, why does it keep moving this way? All right, there we go. That's gonna be good enough. So now, jacking this up until the transmission goes up enough to get me clearance. All right, so that should do. Now I should be able to feed that bolt through. Now on the other side, I'm going to jack up underneath the air conditioner compressor. That's why I'll jack up there to get the to get that bolt hole to line up, so I can get the bolt in. Well, it's not the hole lining up, but I just got to get the AC compressor out of the way so the bolt will feed in. All right, let me get that done. Okay, so I've got the front bolts in on both sides here. Notice how I jacked up the car by the AC compressor. It gives you the maximum displacement right where the bolt is. And it was no problem, it went right in. On the other side, I had some trouble with the ball joint getting back into the control arm, or back into the knuckle, sorry. And so in that case, I had to undo the tie rod nut so I could move things around, and it still wouldn't go. Don't forget, you've also got to compress this axle. Like if you need the knuckle to move back so that it will line up with the ball joint, you got to turn this. You know, turn your axle and push so that the axle will line up. The bearings and the races and the axles will line up, and it will compress, and that will allow the thing to move in. So don't forget that. It's not the rack and pinion or anything like that. It's going to be the axle needs to be pushed in. I am noticing that the alignment is way off from where I started now that I've got this new cross member in. So definitely going to need an alignment. When I started this job, the wheels were straight, and now it's off quite a bit. It's pointing to the right quite a bit. So that's definitely an alignment's going to be required after a job like this. All right, let me continue. Okay, so I've got the car back together, and I drove it around the block, and it drives really well. It's not pulling hard to either direction. It's driving fairly true. But I don't know if I've improved things much at all. So I've got a piece of string dangling here, and I want to measure from the rim to the string, vertically hanging string. Looks like it's about 1 1/8 inch there from the top of the rim down here. I'd say it's a little bit over 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4, 5/16, something like that. Not 5/16. Let's see. Yeah, about 1/2 inch. So a little over 1 inch and about 1/2 inch. This is a negative camber, so I know it's supposed to be negative. I just don't know if that's going to be good enough to be able to align the car or not. Let me check the other side. Okay, so we're going to do the test on the other side here. And let me get this tape measure ready. Okay. So the top has a value of about 1 inch, almost exactly. Down here we've got about 1/2 inch, a little bit over 1/2 inch. So the numbers are fairly consistent on both sides. I'm going to take that as a positive and hope that's good. Now we want this number to be larger than that one. By default, it's supposed to be factory adjusted into a negative camber, I think 0.9 negative degrees. And so the wheel's gonna be like this, just slightly. And it is on both sides. So that's a good sign. Maybe this will work. I will take it and get in the line sometime this week, and I will let you know. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.